Welcome, everybody, to the American Space Museum. I'm Mark Marquette. We're so glad you're with us to stay curious today. Really, a special show as I've got Darrell Higginbotham with me here.
hmm
Greetings, Darrell.
Yeah, thank you.
Greetings.
Yeah,
Welcome to our museum.
yeah,
Darrell has got a unique story. He is one of the engineers for the hold down mechanism, I guess,
yeah.
for the Saturn V rocket. I
hmm
knew nothing about it, and he brought in some of the stuff to show me, including an amazing artifact of space history. Darrell,
hmm
people think going to the moon was very technical, and it was very technical for the time 52 years ago. But
hmm
you brought in something that's so low tech, you're not going to believe it, folks. Don't blow it right now with them,
Okay,
but
all
you're
right.
not going to believe a shock absorber that was used on the thing there. Marty wanted to say
Yeah.
hi to you, buddy.
Yeah, Mark, see if we're live. Go on your iPad and
All
see if we're
right,
live.
let's go on my
Because
iPad here
I don't have chat. And when we don't have chat, we're usually not live.
that I hadn't done yet. Let's see. Give me a second there to double check our status on the American Space Museum. And we are live. So I see the live button there,
I got chat.
and I see hello from Gary Gerald. Gary's watching from uh, Georgia. He
All
brings me
right.
Vidalia onions that he grows
Oh
up there.
boy.
He's a
Yeah,
farmer up there.
yeah.
And Doug Force is in Los Angeles. William
Mm.
Whiting is in Michigan. And Dean Babcock,
Good.
Dean's in, I think Dean's in Illinois,
I got quite a
Decatur,
crowd.
Illinois. No, or not, no, if I'm not mistaken.
Yeah.
And they're all welcoming you. Dave Stange is in Macomb, Michigan.
Wow.
And these guys watch every day. We got a lot of women that watch. So you're going to
hmm
enjoy something today, all of our fans out there, because Daryl's got a great story to tell. But first, uh,
hmm
wanted to just get everybody up to speed, Daryl.
Okay.
Apollo 17 landed on the moon about an hour ago. I
Really?
brought some
Okay.
Tang. Let's have
We'll
cheers
drink
to
to
that on
that.
Tang
All
there.
right.
We'll drink on that. There's my Tang. Ah, what do you think?
Straight tang.
Tastes
Tastes
terrible,
good.
as you know. Well, Gene Cernan and Harrison Schmidt, who's 89 years old and the only one to talk about it.
Wow.
Ron Evans orbiting the moon. You
Mm.
can relive that on Apollo 17
hmm
real time, which I've been doing. You listened to a little bit of it with me. They landed an hour ago. Boy, was
hmm
Gino exuberant, and so was Jack Schmidt, the first and only geologist to go to the moon.
Well, can
And
you imagine landing on the moon
yeah,
and the feelings that you have? It's got to be unbelievable.
Gino said in the transcript, "A moment of my life,"
Hmm.
is what he said. I think that was passed by in history, but he
Wow.
did say that a few minutes being
hmm
on the moon. This is the moment of my life.
Not
Think
too
of all the
many. Not too
training.
many people did that.
No, 12 and
Yeah,
4 that are alive.
yeah.
But you were part of that.
Well,
Looking back 52 years ago, what do you think, Daryl?
well, I loved what I was doing, and I felt like it was a job. I didn't feel like at the time I didn't feel like, wow, I'm helping put people on the moon. I felt like it was my job, and that I better darn sure do it good because we got three guys sitting on top of this thing.
Mm-hmm.
So that drove me to just be exceptionally accurate in my job.
And yes, a lot of accuracy is amazing with the technology of 52 years ago.
hmm
Gene and Jack landed 600 feet from their target in a very rocky area that was flat. They went to this part of the moon to get some stuff that had been blown up from a crater
Oh, really?
millions of years ago that was from
Interesting.
the
Yeah.
inside of the moon.
Hmm.
But we'll have plenty of time to talk about Apollo 17 on the moon. I'm going to do that Friday.
hmm
Tomorrow, just a little plug. We've got Bert Dick is coming in on Thursday. There's Bert, usually a monthly guest. He's the membership chairman for the National Space Society. He's going to do our 2024 year in review, Daryl.
Wow. Yeah.
I think one of the key things of last year was that eclipse of the sun.
Hmm.
Did you go anywhere to see it total, or stay
No,
here in Florida?
no, I stayed here in Florida. Yeah.
Well, let's
Yeah.
also say happy holidays, Merry Christmas to everybody. This was from your era when a man named Don McKay, who was an artist for NASA,
hmm
did these clever postcards. That's a bunch of moon people meeting University of Tennessee rocket that landed there.
Oh,
I say that because they have a checkerboard in the
yeah,
end zone like that.
yeah, nice.
And but Apollo 8 was the first time we put people on top of that Saturn V rocket, and Daryl's responsible for the very bottom of it. These guys are at the very top of it,
Right.
and you're responsible for letting them go off the Earth.
As soon as that rocket said it was ready, when it had enough thrust, we turned it loose.
All right, and you're going to see how that was done here.
And I might say the computer turned it loose.
The computer turned it loose. Yes,
Right.
yes. Oh, Marty, I left my note on a green strip over there. This is one of our person's name on it, right there to the right, maybe. You see the green post-it note. Post-it note to the right has someone's name on it. Marty, thank you. Yeah, Mark Thel of Lakeville, Minnesota. This is his Christmas tree, topped with an Apollo parachute. He's got the rocket there. So thank you, Mark Thiel. Thank you, Marty, for fetching that for me there. Lakeville, Minnesota. He's a regular viewer on there. So this is the mighty Saturn V rocket. The first photograph taken by Bob Granath, and Bob was our guest yesterday. We want to chalk that Bob Granath. Okay, Bob Granath. Marty's correct. I'll get it after about 50 times. We got Daryl's name finally spelt right there. All right, after
That's a tough one.
few times there. But Bob Granath, all right, and he was an awesome POA, public affairs officer for several companies. Will be a regular on here. He had some great stories to tell. This was a tour he did, and the first picture he took of the Saturn V, that was the Fit Check 50F. All right, you can tell because of the black ring
Oh, yeah.
at the very top.
Yeah.
But do you remember being involved with that to
Yes.
see if it fit your
Yes.
hold down?
Yeah.
What was that like, Daryl?
It was very successful, number one, and that was of course the first time that I saw the crawler in operation, and it was pretty interesting and thrilling to see what was coming up.
Yeah.
What was coming ahead.
I'm not sure what time frame that was. I want to say April 67 or something like that.
Something like that, yeah.
But in there. But thank you, Bob Granath, for all of your wonderful stories that he told yesterday. Everybody loved it. You're going to hear a very unique story today of space history today. Met you at the Rocket Ranch reunion, and which is an annual get-together of Apollo and shuttle workers, and they basically tip a few and have a meal together, and then I think most of you are all in bed by 8 o'clock after the good party there. But
Yeah.
Bob, it's great to meet you there. Bob, I'm saying Daryl. So great to meet you there. And tell us a little bit about where you grew up and how you
Yeah.
got involved in this.
Yeah, I'd love to. I want my classmates back in Fort Worth, Texas, to be sure to watch your show here.
Thank you.
Anyway, Fort Worth, Texas is my home, and I went to Texas Christian University. And something that happened, that's TCU, what it's mainly known as.
Yeah, right.
But
Good football teams
yeah,
usually.
usually good football teams, and but anyway, the what happened while I was there was I was fortunate to get on as a summer hire down here at the launch pad of the Atlas, and so an unusual thing happened. I was there in summers of '59 and '60. And an unusual thing happened in that I was hired in as a summer hire as an assistant engineer. And then I was assigned to 2 engineers. And as we approached a launch, they were both sick. And so here I was, like maybe a junior in college. And they said, you know what, that kid, he might be able to sit in on the launch. So in the blockhouse, they didn't call it the firing room. They called it a blockhouse.
Pad 36, was it?
Pad.
That was an Atlas pad for Convair.
Yeah, there were
and
4
General
Atlas
Dynamics.
pads.
All right. Anyway.
Yeah, 36, I believe. And so I got to sit a console during a launch, and of all things, I called a hold. Now, again, some college kid calling a hold, but the fact is, I had an anomaly that, I had no choice. I had to call a hold. We got it fixed, and when we launched, it was successful. And as we were leaving, I got a lot of pats on the back, and I kind of got the urge to continue on in this field.
Wow, you're like 20 years old, right?
That's right. Yeah, if
Something
I was
like
even
that.
I
You're
was
sitting in
19
the
or
launch
something.
control
Yeah.
and you scrub a launch
Yeah.
back then. That's
Well, no, I didn't scrub it. I just called a hold.
oh,
And,
okay.
and then we took care of the problem and continued with the count, and off it went.
Did it go good?
It was good. It was
Yeah.
a good flight.
Back
Yeah.
in those days, it was
Yeah.
50-50 sometimes, I know,
Yeah,
but that's how we all
no,
learned
that
on
was
it.
about 57.
That started your career here, and then you
It
went
did.
to engineering and learned.
Well,
I
what
can
happened?
tell by talking to you a couple days ago, you really love engineering.
Yeah. Well, and what happened there? I thought, well, I do want to. I had always wanted to get into flying, and I had an uncle that was a World War II pilot, fighter pilot, and I learned to fly when I was 19 years old.
Hmm.
And
What plane was that?
it was called an Aranca.
An
And
Araka?
Aranca, and
Oh.
the instructor sat in the back seat, and I sat in the front seat.
All right.
And I soloed like in 6.5 hours. I just took to it, I loved it, and so I always wanted to do that. And but what happened was at the local conveyor plant that was building B-36s and B-58s. Well, they had a layoff, and people came from all over the country to interview to pick up some help there from the people being laid off. And I thought I was just like 2 months from graduation, and I thought I'm going to go. And and it even said in the paper, if you're in school, we're not interested in talking to you. And I thought I'm going to go anyway because I want some practice. So I went, and it turned out the guy that I'm talking to had been an engineer on the Atlas at the time, and so we had something to talk about. And I guess a month before I graduated, I get a note in the mail that I was hired with Lockheed Missiles and Space Company out at the Western Test Range. That's at Porno Coelho. And so that was the Agena. And so I was on many, 30 launches with Agena, Atlas, and Agena Thors. And then later I came down this way.
Did you do any of the Gemini, Atlas, Agena target launches? That you
Those
remember?
were all at the time we couldn't talk about them because it's been declassified since then. But they were classified launches over Russia.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
I'm not talking. Oh, you're talking about different ones than the Gemini rendezvous ones I'm talking about. Oh, that's interesting. Classified
Right.
missions of Agena rockets put over Russia.
Right. Yeah.
Oh.
So we did that. I did that for 3 years, and then
That sets you up for security clearances and stuff the rest of your life. Yeah.
I was in a secure position the whole time, and then the thing that I did was I was real happy about doing was when I was on one system, I was on propellant, and the Agena used hypergols, and so I was on the hydrazine for a while. Then I was on the acid for a while, and then I asked to move around. Let me do air conditioning. Let me do umbilicals, and so I got experience all over that Agena rocket. It was it was called a space vehicle. It could go into orbit, and then it could put whatever orbit you wanted in. If you wanted elliptical, you wanted round, you wanted 100 miles, you wanted 200 miles, and so I worked on so many different systems. I got a lot of good experience, and then when time came, now we had a Atlas blow up on our pad, and and there was a long delay in rebuilding the pad, And I guess I got a little antsy about that, and I went back to Texas at the Houston Space Center.
Hmm.
I was there a year, and another crazy thing happened in my career, and that was that I was going downtown. I was big into hunting then, and I was going downtown to look at a Jeep I saw for sale downtown. This is in Houston, where the Space Center is, and I saw a sign that said they were hiring for jobs at in Florida at the Cape Canaveral. And so I went ahead and looked at the Jeep, you know, and when I came back by, I thought, and I just had some scuzzy clothes on, and I went in, and so what happened was when I told them my experience, about a week later, I get a call, and a guy hires me on the phone. And so, other than an interview with a guy at, you know, a guy that wasn't in the engineering department, he was in the but anyway, so I get a call, and this guy says, we need experience like you, and can you come down in 2 weeks or something like that? And so that's what got me down here.
Wow.
And then I came in on the Apollo program. That was with Boeing.
We're talking here with Darrell Higginbotham. You're going to really enjoy his story about engineering the hold down mechanisms for the Saturn V rocket, 6 million pounds of thrust, and you're holding it down there at 4 points. Wanted to say hi to and Steve Jokums, who's in Lake County Spaceport up in Fox Lake, Illinois. He's got a little business called that up there. He points out that maybe that was Launch Complex 14 was also a popular Atlas pad there that was used a lot. And we've got my daughter Jessica and my grandchildren watching. Hello. She wants you to hit the like button and all. You're going to enjoy this show here, Jesse, with some great, Daryl, for over 20 years, we've been preserving the birth of the American space age here in Brevard County, which is its delivery room. All right. That's what we've been doing.
Yeah.
And we seriously consider people like you and Marty Winkle over there doing the board national treasures, because you've did something that has not been done 52 years ago, an hour ago. The lunar module number 12 set down on the surface of the moon, the 6th time America had done it in 3.5 years, with a near fatal Apollo 13 accident in between. All right, amazing what we did. And we really think that you all are very special people, and we honor you at Spaceview Park with your names out there and so forth and so on. And this is why we love people like you, Daryl, coming on our show to share your knowledge. Before we get to some of that, Marty's got a question of the day here that's very apropos. By the way, we're looking at Ron Evans orbiting the moon and his shot of the Earth rising over the lunar edge while his two buddies are beginning to camp out for 3 days on the moon there. All right, Marty.
Okay, what was the altitude of the Saturn V rocket first stage when I didn't read it right, when the first stage dropped off? And for extra credit, how far downrange?
All right. Steve Jokums, everybody answered one yesterday, so everybody's eligible today. What was the altitude of the Saturn V rocket after it was launched with your hold down bolts letting it go when the first stage dropped off? So, don't tell the answer here yet. We're going to get to that later. We'll get to that later here. We'll let you guess in there. And so thank you all for chiming in there. Interesting stuff. And Ace Boogie Stacks is in there. Cliff Watson is watching from Pomona, Australia.
Wow.
He has sat in this seat, Daryl, and done stuff for us there. This is a piece of history that we've never seen before. This is a piece of your hold down mechanism that was given to you, this piece of wood.
Right.
All right. And as you're quickly reading there, that was the shock absorber. All right.
On Apollo 8. Excuse me, on Apollo
11.
11.
This was the shock absorber from Apollo 11.
Yeah.
All right, and we're going to explain that, why a piece of wood would be part of our high-tech quest to go to Apollo.
Mm-hmm.
I'm used to seeing a lot of these things, but I put them in here. Daryl, you've got a nice scrapbook there. I took these pictures out of your scrapbook. What, the first launch to the moon, how nervous was everybody about that, or not? With humans on it, yeah.
Here's what I thought. I thought this is too soon. Let's shoot an unmanned vehicle and make sure that everything's working okay. That was what I felt. And so I was pretty anxious about when I heard that, hey, we're putting men on the top of this thing on Apollo 8, and also then a lot of mods were incorporated. We had a lot of extra work to do to have backup systems, to make sure that we were being as safe as possible. So so that was my feelings, and it was just exciting, and I thought that was an appropriate number for 8, since we took off and did a figure 8 around the moon and back to Earth. So yeah, I remember how I really felt the need to be sure I'm accurate in everything I do.
Great point. Boy, thanks for sharing that, Daryl. When Apollo 11 went off, we'll talk about that because I've got that in here in a second, and I'll think about that. This, again, is things that were handed out to the employees,
Right.
probably in that brown manila envelope or whatever, with the decal and the pictures of the crew in there. These are from Johnson Space Center. I'm used to seeing the ones that come out of Marshall. So these are there's 11, the one to have. Now, I wish I'd taken a picture of the firing room. Where were you in the firing room? Close to the director, or way far back, or in the middle?
If you look at the way it's the seating is, you have the managers of the program. Kurt Debus and all of the
Rocco Petrone.
And when the president came, he'd be on the upper level, looking down over all the consoles. Now they had their own consoles up there, but if you took about from there down on the main floor, about the second or third row of consoles, and all the way to the right, that's where I was located.
Okay, all right, that's cool. That's this is a very valuable thing to have, of course, for the moon landing and so forth. What was it like to see a Saturn V rocket launch from the viewing launch? Did the windows really rattle a lot? What was going on?
They did,
and the noise level.
But here was the part I didn't like. Was we were facing this way and the rocket was going off back this way.
Oh, okay.
So and I'm watching all the lights on my console, and I got to make sure everything is going right. But as soon as I saw everything was right, then I could turn around, and we had these huge windows in the firing room, and so then you could see the rocket rising on out of sight.
What was the ambient noise like? I don't know. Like, I worked in a newspaper office, and at one point typewriters were going like crazy.
At that point, it was.
But
like
was there
total silence except for the rocket making a lot of noise?
Wow!
You could hear it rumbling and the windows shaking, and then of course our responsibility was to clear the tower. And so once it was cleared, and actually when it was on out of sight, then there was a lot of handshaking and congratulating and things like that. I would head right back to what little computer stuff we had back then, and read all of my information to make sure that certain things I was concerned about went okay, and so that was kind of how it went.
Did you have a nightmare? Marty's revealed that he had some bad dreams about the lunar modules and ascent stage not being everything being the guillotine and everything not working to separate the wires and pipes at that moment. Did you have any bad dreams about like that?
I never had bad dreams, but I visualized all of the work that we did, and went over and over it in my mind. You know, I might be in bed, but I would be going over everything,
Mm-hmm.
because here again, when you start putting people on top of the rocket, you got to make sure you're accurate. So I really didn't feel anxious or afraid or anything like that. It just made me want to be more better and work as hard as I could to make sure everything was correct.
Okay, Marty's signaling me. We've got a question there from one of our Ace Diamond viewers there, Dave Stange up in Michigan.
Yeah, Dave is asking, Daryl, were you ever able to leave your console once the rocket had cleared the tower and go outside and see the launch with your own eyes?
No, and the reason I didn't do that because it wasn't like a straight out to a door. It was like through several aisleways and doors and
4 floors or 3 floors up.
yeah, and so and the other thing was I wanted to there were certain things that weren't on my console that I could go back and read on what the computers were showing. And so I would actually go in a dark room where everybody else was more. I watched as far as I could through the windows, and they were tall. They were, 25, 30 feet tall. The windows were. So once I saw everything was going okay there, I would go in and look at the computer data.
Good question.
But I was one of the few nerds that did that. But I felt like I wanted to make sure everything was going okay.
Great. We got a couple guesses there on Marty's question. Steve Jokums thinks it's 42 miles and 58 miles downrange, and Gary Gerald's taken 38 miles high and 55 miles downrange, and Ace Boogie Stacks watching there. He says the maze, and yeah, you did have a maze to go through apparently, and I'm not thinking you're on the 3rd floor. Is that what you said, Marty, of the building?
Yeah. And to follow up with that, I would think it would probably take at least, I'd say, between 2 to 3 minutes to get outside to watch it.
Yeah.
Because you'd have to go down. Oh,
Yeah.
and actually, you didn't have to go downstairs. You can actually watch it from the staircase. So maybe it'd take you at least a minute and 90 seconds. So you
Yeah,
wouldn't see
I was
much.
close enough to the window also. I could see pretty high, and I would watch that far before I went back into the computer room.
Sweet. Well, Apollo 13, of course, had this crew. One of them did not go to the moon. Ken Mattingly there, of course, was exposed to the measles and replaced by he was replaced by Marty, having a moment there. Yeah, Schweikert and Schweigert, yes, and he's the Capcom on the lunar landing of Apollo 17 there.
Yeah.
And I talked to his wife, Ken Mattingly. All right, and just a great guy that was part of the shuttle era and orbited the moon in Apollo 10. There's your Apollo 13 access firing room badge. Again, a rare thing of space history that a lot of space geeks would love to own.
Yeah.
I've seen this with my eyes. In fact, it's on eBay for sale. Not yours, Daryl,
Really?
but Season's Greetings from the Apollo 14.
Right.
And it's like Elvis Velvet.
Yeah,
An Elvis picture Velvet
to
on
my
it.
address at my house. Yeah.
Yeah, there you go.
Yeah.
Yeah, what did you think of that? Getting a Christmas card
Thrilled,
from him. Kind of cool, huh?
Yeah. No, I was just very happy to.
And,
I was happy to see that the astronauts, they have so much to do, and the launch is just like the first little few minutes, and then they're off and thinking about how we're going to land on the moon and things like that, and so you appreciate them appreciating what we did for them.
Great point, really. The pad rats out there, lovingly call these everybody out there, had their place too. Yeah, Marty, another question.
Yeah, from Dean Babcock. Daryl, after launch, what data were you checking on your computer?
What data? Um, the main thing was the timing on, we had a pneumatic, helium pneumatic ball lock separator. And so I wanted to see the timing on each one of those mechanical ball lock separators. The other thing was, now I could read that it separated, but I wanted to see the timing on it because we also had ordnance release as a backup. And then I wanted to, in some cases, the ball lock separator would be a little slow, and then the ordnance would go also. So we would have a double. In fact, I've got one.
Yeah,
of the,
we've got. You're going to show some show and tell
I've
here.
got
Just
one of the ordnance pieces.
and we're getting into the details of that, my friends, here about what he really did after a couple more memorabilia items like Marty, what the heck was a sedan? You're old.
Yeah,
I couldn't drive. I couldn't drive a sedan. I wouldn't know.
I think I have a sedan.
Yeah,
It's a
everybody has
passenger
a
car.
sedan now,
Usually 4-door.
and a station wagon.
Yeah.
Wow, I know you had a station wagon, Marty.
No.
No, you didn't. Okay.
Well, see, they were, for some reason, I think they were concerned about how many people, and so you could stack more people in a sedan and a station wagon. So, and that's what a lot of people would do.
And these were given out to you to give your families
Yeah.
to go see the launch.
so they just
Usually
put that in the
the
windshield.
Causeway or
Yeah.
the North Parkway site there, and
Yeah.
again another memento as Apollo 15s.
Mhm.
Yeah,
But
Marty.
they also didn't want you to bring campers in there with 20 people.
Right.
Gotcha. All right. So there's the launch. All right, the night launch of Apollo 17 that happened. We were celebrating it on Saturday, I think. I forget exact date there, but there's the instant of the fire of those F1 engines, the kerosene there, and you're still holding down. And that's sort of like in the middle about when the release was on there, but
Yeah. Now about that, the whole assembly of the Saturn V with the propellants and everything was around. Now Marty's a little bit more closer on the number than I am, but around 6 million pounds, right, Marty?
Thrust?
Huh?
That's 7.5 million.
Well, no, that was what the thrust was when it was released. Yeah, the thrust was 7.5
yeah, it
million.
has to be more than the mass.
But the
Oh,
Saturn V itself weighed about 6 million.
Yes,
Yeah.
I think it was 6. I think 6.2.
It was more than
and-
6 million. That's
Yeah,
right.
I think it was
a little bit
6.2, but I'm sure Steve will correct us.
more. I'm bad about rounding off.
Here's what he was. Here's the computer he was looking at, Dean Babcock.
Yeah,
All right, that's your actual workstation.
right. Now what that shows is on the upper left.
A
that was-
photograph of it, by
Yeah.
the way.
That is the, I can't read that, but that's the primary system, which was that ball lock separator, the pneumatic separator I was telling you about. That's the data on the left, and then the switch all the way to the left was the arming switch. When everybody said we're ready to go, then I would arm the system there. Then on the right is the backup system. The ordnance, and it just told, whether and everything was backup. There was two systems for the pneumatic and two systems for the ordnance, and so that's what that top part. The bottom 2/3 is service arm control switch that was on my console, and my job would be just to report any anomalies or report that everything was A-OK and ready to go. I didn't work on that switch, but it was very important because it retracted all of the swing arms that service the orbiter up and down. When you saw it on the pad out there, you saw these arms that come across, and that console there, or those switches and
Wow. But a
headlights.
computer operated all that. You're just confirming.
Yes.
Yeah. All right. Here are the hold down mechanisms in factory production. You pointed out, made in America.
Right. Yeah, you can't make that stuff in America anymore. Big
Yeah.
foundries, they're not.
Don't exist.
They're not
in
yeah, they might be little ones, but to build and those hold-down arms, they weighed about 40,000 pounds, if I remember right.
Wow, 20 tons. You're going to see some people. I don't see anybody in scale there, but there's what we're talking about. There was your baby, the black box there on the other side.
Well, the top one,
Marty's
long
going
one,
to use his pointer there or his circle to help you out here.
yeah. Okay, the top, that's surface arm control switch right on the other side of the hold-down arm. Move that up.
Yeah, the big horizontal thing.
The horizontal.
Yeah.
That is the service arm control switch.
That was the bottom
Excuse
part
me,
of your
the tail service mast.
Yeah.
It wasn't part of the hold-down arm.
Right, but that you did monitor it over here. You said on your that was the bottom part right there, right?
Well, that was if I said the words right, that was the service arm control switch.
Oh, okay.
All of those.
Oh, yeah, right. Not exactly.
All those arms.
All the
up and down.
umbilicals and
Yeah.
arms there. Okay.
Yeah.
All right, there you go. There. That's a great shot of the fins and the
Yeah.
structure there. So still don't have a scale there with
Yeah.
a person in it. Now we're looking at the pit,
Okay.
and on the left is there's two pictures here, folks. There's the hold down sections, 4 of them, and
Right.
there you are right there, and these are your babies there.
Right. Yeah, that's the 4 hold
And the
down.
flame trench.
And yes.
All right. Now you got to see this flame trench covered up after a launch, which I asked Daryl about because
Yeah,
I
they
was
just put
puzzled by it
a
there.
net
But
across it.
so here's the moment of release. All right, in there. Did you see a lot of engineering videos and stuff that they showed you in super
Yeah.
slow motion and all,
Yeah.
like they did the shuttle? I've not seen many of
Yeah.
those. I suppose there's tons of them out there on YouTube, but
Yeah. It used to be we didn't have on the first launch, we didn't have that cover on the top of the hold down arm that would protect it from all the flame.
okay.
And what happened was that system failed on hold down arm 1. That's why on the back side of that plaque that you showed
Mm-hmm.
with a piece of the hold down arm's cushion or shock absorber, yeah, it is burnt on the back side because that hood failed on.
Yeah, we'll see all that.
Yeah.
There's a man in relationship there. So fold down. I'll have Marty ask the question there before you get into a little engineering lesson here.
Okay.
Yeah, Dave Babcock is asking, did the hold down mechanism ever have to be replaced after launch?
No, never. It was just too big of a mass. It just the arms itself and the links inside were never damaged.
Wow, with all that flame
and again on the first
power.
launch, we didn't even have those protective hoods on there, and so it the insides it literally just cleaned everything out of the inside of the hold down arms until we got the hoods on there.
Well, here's the cutting one open. Tell us about that, Daryl.
The what now?
Well, here's the engineering. We cut
Okay.
one open there to see
Yeah.
in this
All right.
graphic here.
Well, in the top center, it shows the linkage, and it shows it up against the cushion, the shock absorber. You can
Right.
see right to the left of the yellow.
The yellow, and
link.
Marty's going to show you that piece of wood is.
Yeah.
The top picture, Marty. See it?
Yeah. Of all the technology that we dealt with, and why did we have a piece of oak in
There you go,
first?
right there.
Right
that
there.
little round
Is a piece-
semicircle
Yeah. Now it's maybe
is a
about
piece of oak.
His piece of oak is like, and we had specs on it that they had to cut it a certain way and
Huh.
had to be out of a certain size trunk of a tree, but that's what we used, and that's That's that one memento I have.
Because at the
there.
bottom is holding it down. This one right here is holding it down, and then the release is the top one. You can see
That's
how the
right.
yellow has changed,
That's right.
and the yellow is so much force that it hits that
Yeah.
shock absorber.
Yeah, the
there.
bottom one, that's the Saturn V in green, and then you can see the yellow. That's the one holding it down.
And the Saturn V in green has left it there.
Yeah.
All right. And on the right hand side,
Okay, that's the ball lock separator I was talking about.
we're going to see you have that with you. No,
I
you-
do. Well, I
yeah.
have the ordnance that fit on the end of it.
Yeah.
That if the pneumatic release failed, then the ordnance blew it off and released it.
Very good. Again, another picture of this going on. The
Yeah.
actual hold down pin, if you will.
Mm-hmm.
Was that it? That was in between like an eye bolt on the Saturn V, or what was actually? Never saw a good picture of that. What it was connected to Saturn V to.
Oh, the linkage.
Yeah.
Or see the hash mark area right under where the link comes down.
Yes.
Right where the arrow starts, where it's starting.
Right.
The red arrow. Well, that is
Right where the red
is
arrow.
where that's where it was holding the Saturn V down.
Okay.
And then out here on the right in the center is where the separator is, the ball lock separator
Mhm.
and the ordnance.
Okay.
And-
yeah, right there above
yeah.
your head there, and
And-
then there's that piece of wood again right there.
Right.
And but I didn't see a picture of what did it look like on the Saturn V where it was holding it down. Was there a hole there that pin fit in, or?
There was an indention, and then just part of the bottom plate on the Saturn V.
Yeah, a
And
big
obviously
thick bottom plate,
it
I
had to
reckon.
be connected pretty thoroughly to the rest of the
Huh.
Saturn V. Yeah.
All right, there
All
is
right.
that piece of wood that's
Yeah.
that's charred, and you're going to see why it's charred on the back. This is a
Yeah.
very historic piece of wood.
Well, and
Yeah.
it was charred. Okay.
Yeah,
you're
we're
gonna
going to see
show
that
'em.
here.
Okay.
All right, there's the launch again. Okay.
Yeah.
And here now is after the launch. There's Daryl's fingers on there showing me. Marty will have to use so you
Yeah.
explain it, Daryl. We're looking at three of the
Okay.
hold down bolts, the ones above my head.
Yeah.
Two of them have covers up are covered up,
That's
but
right.
the one isn't.
Yeah. The one on the left, you can see that the hood did not close. And the way it closed was there was a lanyard. It was just a rope lanyard that went from the hood to the Saturn V. Now, this was kind of like, you just didn't do things like this. But
Yeah,
because
Sears and Roebuck
that's right.
rope.
Yeah, just in tying and letting the rocket do the work of the hold down post. You just didn't do it that way. The hold down post did the work for the Saturn V. All right. So what happened was, I don't remember that we came up with a reason other than they just had a weak rope and it broke, and that hood didn't close, and that's hold down arm number one. And what it did was it left the top of the linkage with the sides were open, and flame went in there, and that's what burnt the back side of that piece of wood you just showed.
Right there.
That's right.
Not only is it a piece of wood that the other four have, this is one of the rare. Was it the only time you had that anomaly?
That was the only time.
Really? Wow.
Now,
Four
before the
times,
first launch,
yeah.
8, we didn't have the hoods then. We put them on after 8.
Oh, okay.
And so everything was burned up in there.
I got you. Look at how that tail mast section's burned up there.
Yeah, it had some ablative coating on it, but you could see it burned it off.
Yeah. Now notice the net above his head there, above Daryl's head there. That's the safety net that they put in.
Right.
And you see the people around there, so you
Yeah.
can see. I mean, I don't expect an exact answer, but was this hours after the launch or the next day or?
Oh, it'd just be a few hours.
Okay.
Yeah. And I was on the safing team because that ordnance could be dangerous.
You've got that piece of wood with you there.
I do.
Yeah, get your little show and tell out of the box there, and get your little pin thing there ready. Great pictures. These are out of Daryl's collection himself. I meant to have you get those out of there, Daryl. We're enjoying this conversation with Darrell Higginbotham, a mechanical engineer. He worked for Boeing. He worked for United Space Alliance.
Yeah, this is the.
We'll see pictures of that up close.
Yeah.
But get your
And here's
here's the piece of wood there, just in a cardboard box, worth a small fortune there. It says this piece of wood is a part of a. Well, let me get the picture up there. So I was saying the exact. Well, look at that one there. This piece of wood is part of a hold-down arm #1 shock absorber. It is presented to the above Darrell Higginbotham for his contribution to the successful launch of the Apollo 11 lunar landing mission there. So that is so cool. One of a kind type of artifact there. And that's a pretty big chunk. So
yeah.
I wonder if 100 of you got that, or how many of these would be in existence.
I don't know the answer to that, but I do know that they took that same arm, and Nixon was president at the time, and they made a gavel out of this wood.
Oh, did they?
For him, yeah.
All right. That's appropriate. Way cool. Did y'all know that? Of course you didn't. That's why you're staying curious here with the American Space Museum. Look at those technicians in there checking this all out. Again, you've got kind of the netting thing there on there. Now, a little more detail here.
Surface arm control switch. And it had pneumatics. See the arm sticking out there?
Uh-huh.
The top up there is the Saturn V.
I got you.
And-
I see what Marty's going for. Go ahead there, Daryl.
All right, and then the Saturn, or the the surface arm control switch is mounted to arms 2 and 4 of hold down arms, and then as a Saturn V went up, that arm would follow it, and when it reached the top, it would flip a switch that pulled all the surface arm control switch.
That's the
back.
mechanism. I find that amazing. Marty was going for a Saturn V rocket. Were you wanting?
See if Daryl can point out where the hold down actually is. What's it?
Yeah. See this.
Oh, this
plastic-
is the model we have there.
All right, but
This here
it was right in here, but there was a detent right in here for the arm pit right in here.
Come and touch the camera.
Right in.
You're gonna feel that in your hand shake. That's a toy.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Anyway, so each.
Yeah, you're saying right in here was the hold down area, huh?
Right.
Like right in
Yes.
there.
Yes.
Was it
Okay.
like the flange that came out?
No. It
So
was,
between
it was
the
a detent
engines.
in the body into the structure, into the major
They
structure.
came in this way?
Look here.
Yeah.
If this was the arm, it came and then locked in against the bottom plate, and of course that plate was tied into the first
stage.
S1C stage. Yeah.
Very cool. Very cool. All right. There's a close up of something that you got an award for. You saved a lot of time.
Yeah. They decided that the Saturn V
You cut back.
would dance a little bit on the hold down arms as it was taken off. So what they did.
Really? A little bit of shimmy shake, huh?
Right.
All right.
Yeah. Well, and they didn't want that. They wanted it. So what they did was they had some bolts cut that got wider from the top down. They got wider, and then they were in a die, and as the Saturn V took off, it would extrude that piece of steel through that die, and it caused the Saturn V. There was one on each arm, and actually on both sides of each arm, and so the Saturn V then would take off slower, and it wouldn't bounce.
Wow. So it's purposely held down in a way because
Mhm.
everyone remarks how slow and laborious
The
it was
first
off
few
the
inches
pad.
were really slow, and then it seemed slow as it was taken
Huh.
off past the
All
tower.
right. So there's a mechanism there. Uh,
Mm,
this
yeah.
is where you said you saved 8 hours or whatever
Okay.
trying to.
What they did was we had to torque those um, release pins. We had to torque them down tight,
Okay.
and
Physically to the mechanism that's holding it to the Saturn V.
yes, and you can see this is actually with the new torquing tool added on.
Huh.
But before you had you had four guys underneath there, two of them holding two torque wrenches up in place. This is with the new
All right.
modification on here.
Right.
Okay, they were just holding the torque wrenches up in place, and then two guys. There were two arms off the torque wrenches, and then two guys were working the torque wrench, and we had two situations where guys tripped and fell and kind of bruised up, and so
How long did it take? Took a longer time.
okay, they gave us 12 hours in the countdown to do this torquing, and then I saw a way where we could make it a lot faster,
And that's where this apparatus comes in.
Yeah, that doesn't show. You see the hydraulic jack now. See the lines going up in
Pneumatic
there?
lines, yeah.
Yeah. And then I got a company to build a ratchet. There it is right there. The
Right.
the black part. And so then
Yeah,
then they
you
could mount that all up there.
So Daryl designed this
Yeah.
as a fix to
And it
something.
cut our time in the countdown from 12 hours to 6 hours.
Yeah, you said you had someone machine these parts and
I did,
everything,
yeah.
and
Yeah,
to your specs
I
there.
can't
That's a
remember
true story of Apollo.
Mhm.
This device saved, you said, about 8 hours of time.
6 hours.
6 hours,
Right.
okay. I was trying to give you 8 hours, Daryl.
I'll
Come
take
on
it.
here. Marty, you got a question? This wonderful guest.
Yeah, Daryl. Why was the torque down during countdown? Why wasn't it torque down either in the VAB or shortly after they rolled out?
Let's see here.
Yeah, I was wondering that too. Why would they cut it so close
Yeah.
to the, and
You
not
know-
do it a day before or whatever? But
Yeah, I guess I don't have a good answer for that.
yeah.
I think that the best thing to do is once you're, when you're traveling out there, maybe it might change some of that. And so the best thing is when it was sitting on the launch pad. Now the countdown was 7 days long. I launched not hundreds, but dozens of rockets where the countdown was 12 hours. and here we are 7 hours on the Saturn V.
Yeah, I'm just guessing now, thinking about it. They probably wanted to wait until the vehicle was fueled to get all the weight on it before they torqued it.
Okay, that's a good idea.
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't really remember even being, even thinking about why we waited so late.
It's only been
Was
like
it fueled when
50
you were out
years.
there? I wouldn't have them out there when it was fueled.
Yeah.
Really?
I was working up
Oh,
You were up there many times when it was
well,
fueled?
not the oxygen, but
The hydrogen.
no,
I mean the
The
kerosene. Yeah.
they could have the kerosene up there, but
Gotcha.
that and I don't think it was up there. It was fueled after we finished.
All right. Well, good. Here's another shot of that mechanism. Looking up at the Saturn V there.
Yeah, I wish I could remember. It's a tool company that you see the truck driving through Titusville, all the time. I just can't remember the name of the company, but I contacted them and they built it.
I'm
It
thinking
was just-
Cornwell or
Uh,
anyway, this is great. Your personal pictures out of your album
Yeah.
there. Again, the mechanism that's holding the Saturn V rocket down.
yeah.
Had 4 points on the pad. let's see, we got, there's another picture of the engineers there.
Yeah.
And we got a personal picture coming up here. There you are.
Yeah.
But it's a gag picture, folks.
It
Tell us what
is.
the gag
All
is.
right.
All
Well,
right.
first off, understand that the technician world had um, unions, and so the union rules were that engineers did not touch tools. Period.
Okay.
I mean, one time we were setting up a test, and so we had a piece of equipment, and I asked the tech to plug there was a receptacle right there, plug it in. And he said, "Well, I can't." I said, "Why not?" He said, "Because I'm a mechanical tech, and we need an electrical tech." And I said, "Well,
man,
let's check this." And I took it and plugged it in, and we ran the test. All right. So here, I'm kidding around with it. See, they asked me to come out to take the picture of this is with the system all in place.
Yeah. Your
They
system that you
they asked
invented.
that I designed and got an award for, and they asked me to come out and have a picture taken. So I asked one of the techs to hand me a wrench, and they were giving me a hard time. And finally, they handed me this little toothpick-sized wrench right there.
Yeah,
And that's what we were laughing about.
Yeah, the pneumatic tube covering it up there. That's you. Wow, some 50 years ago, huh?
Yeah.
Time flies,
young
doesn't
guy.
it, Daryl?
Oh
Yeah.
boy.
Well, if you still got that helmet, that's the hard hat.
No, I don't remember keeping that.
Yeah, that'd be all right. Marty, aren't we enjoying this conversation with your friend Daryl? Daryl, you remember meeting Marty when we were at the Rocket Ranch there?
Yeah, sure.
And you said from his exploits of being a long distance runner too.
Yeah, I ran for 26 years, and I don't know if we used to run the same route or something.
We used to run similar routes at different times. I'd once in a while run the parish, I call it parish loop, from Sherwood and Carpenter.
Okay, that's where I ran.
Parish.
I ran down Carpenter and turned right around and came back 2 miles a day, 26 years, and I wouldn't miss. I'm lazy now.
Thank you, Dean Babcock, for your question. He said he assumes the pneumatic and hydraulic hoses had to be replaced after each launch. No, because they weren't on the pad. This was used to tighten it down.
Oh, that was
and then
just
taken off the pad.
A tool to tighten. Yeah, and the tool used to.
This is a tool that Daryl invented.
It's just a ratchet like you got in your toolbox, only it's big.
Yeah, right there. Yeah,
it was bigger than there it is, right there.
Yeah. So that is what it would look like in place without the pneumatic lines on there. But good thinking there.
So that was all removed. Yeah.
All right. Now here's something that you got a little show and tell for there.
Yeah.
What am I holding in my hand here?
All right. It is the pneumatic. I mean
the pneumatic ordnance.
No, the ordnance release of the hold down arm. If the ball lock separator failed, it was a backup. Now the timing was set so close between the ball lock separator and the ordnance, this unit here, it was set so close, it was milliseconds apart, and they would occasionally, both of them would go. Say the ball lock separator was just a millisecond slower, but it was a mechanical driven by pneumatics. So
the ordnance is in this, you said.
Yeah, that's the little cartridge.
Cartridge of gunpowder or something, in there.
And
to fire that off.
And it was just part of the.
This is heavy too, folks. This is.
That was in.
Gosh, it weighs like 10 pounds.
That was
5 pounds.
That was
really.
in Apollo 11, where that happened, where both of them went. Everything was fine with the ball lock separator, but it was just a millisecond slower than usual, and the ordnance went also.
Wow. Fascinating. Here's your letter of commendation. I would like to extend my congratulations upon your receipt of the Bronze Zero Defects pin as a reward for the defect-free design of your torquing fixture for the controlled release devices. Well done from your Atlantic Test Center manager there, William Holmes, Bill
Right.
Holmes there.
Boeing, yeah.
A Boeing guy. Okay, you were under Boeing at the time.
Right.
That's dated September 71. That sounds like that'd be after Apollo 15 in July.
Mm-hmm.
And here's your Boeing Atlantic Test Center that D.W. Higginbotham has contributed a cost savings that has resulted in the improvement of operations of the Boeing Atlantic Test Center. That was in February 1970. And did it come? I see a little dollar sign down there. Did it come with a little bonus check?
No,
No.
I hate to say it, but I can't remember.
Okay, that's all
I
right.
can't remember.
You remembered a lot. After all, these Apollo era people are. You are an octogenarian for sure. Okay, in your 80s, and you
Yeah.
did a great job. Awesome, really, very, very good.
Thanks.
Everyone enjoyed it.
Mm.
Some great questions. How about Snap-on Tools? Was that one of the companies?
Snap-on. That was the name of the
Snap-on.
company.
All
Yes.
right. Well, Mitch Rothman.
He got it.
He got it. He's
Yeah.
got a website called ManSpace. I know,
Uh,
Mitch, you enjoyed meeting Mr. Higginbotham here tremendously, as we did. And you're always welcome to come back. What do you think about our little museum here?
Oh, it's unbelievable. It's been several years since I've been here, and you guys have really, really added a bunch. Since
Thank
I
you,
was
Daryl.
here.
Yes,
I mean, good stuff.
we feel we're one of the rare museums in the world. Not only does our program celebrate space workers, and you hear stories like this that you'll hear nowhere else,
Mhm.
our artifacts are also out of this world. So there you are getting an award there in the middle. There, is that your Boeing people?
That was for the yes, that was for the torquing device.
Okay.
Yeah.
Has that application been used elsewhere since then?
It is so just all it is just it's a ratchet. That's all it is. You
Okay.
got them in your toolbox. The only thing is it's big,
Yeah.
and
Pneumatic powered.
And Snap-on made it for me.
All right.
Yeah.
Snap on.
And I told him, I said, it's got to be 5 times greater than the force that it's going to see. And they did everything I asked them for. So they did a super job.
Thank you, Mitch Rothman, for
Yeah.
forcing that out there. And Marty, take it away there with. Don't think anyone got your question right today, Marty.
No, a couple of people came close. Steve came close, and I think who else was
Repeat
it?
the question.
Tom?
What was the
Yeah.
answer?
Yeah. What was the altitude of the Saturn V rocket first stage when it dropped off? And the number I have is 38 miles, downrange 50 miles.
Wow.
But Steve, and I think it was Gary Jarrell, somebody else was close. So
Yeah, Gary said, let's see, if I go back up here,
yeah, I'm trying to find
guys,
it.
we appreciate you. Steve had 42 miles, 58 miles downrange. Gary had 38 miles, 55 downrange. So they're in the ballpark there with their knowledge there. So Doug Forrest, I know you enjoyed this. Gary Gerald, Bill Whiting, enjoying dinner with his wife up in Michigan. Dean Babcock, Dave Stange, Mitch Rothman, Steve Jokums, Carlton Bailey has photographed over 700 launches.
Wow.
Friend of ours. Tom Celentano, Cliff Watson in Australia, Ace Boogie Stacks, my daughter Jessie in McKinley and Macy, my granddaughters, and Nick Sedler out there. And guys, we're just so appreciative of people like you that spend your time here. Another rare artifact you'll never see anywhere else. Look at that. With scorch marks from Apollo 11, leaving the Earth to the moon. There's your workplace there we talked about. And there you are on the Kohler map, built in 1970, a legacy part of our museum.
It's beautiful
Pointing
piece
to
out
pad
there.
30. Yeah. Dr. Al Kohler, who's in his 80s, and his dad did this in
Did that?
1970.
Yeah.
Motors would move the pads up as
See,
they
as you get older, you get better.
Yeah, you do get better.
Good job he did.
Exactly. So we've got our Tang here to toast Apollo 17 landing
right.
on the moon. Daryl, let's
All
do
right.
that again there. And thank everyone for watching today's Stay Curious episode. Tomorrow we have Bert Dick here. Bert will be reprising the year 2024. So think of some of your favorite top 10 moments. And if Bert doesn't have them on there, we'll welcome your uh, comments on that. Jim McDade, great to have you on board here also. Marty, a comment.
One more question. I guess, Daryl, I'm a little bit obsessed with the hold downs. If I go out to the Saturn V building, see the Saturn V, will I see the indentation you were talking about?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. The
I'm gonna go
Saturn.
tomorrow.
The
Go
Saturn.
take a picture of it.
Saturn
I'll
V.
I'll do that.
Yeah,
Yeah.
we'll show it on your show there. Yeah. Yeah, I hadn't thought that through before the show, but exactly what is the physical thing that was your little, and it was a pneumatic pin, right? That was clamping down to hold it on there.
The slow release
Yeah.
pin.
Yeah, the pin.
Okay. It was bolted to, again, the structure of the Saturn V, and then it just dropped straight down about this far. Then you'll see a structure bolted to the hold down arm that had that die in it, and so the pin went down through the die. Now here's the die, and here's the pin coming down through it. Then below the die it was fatter, and so it had to extrude that pin through the die, and
Wow.
and it took a lot of
With the force.
to do that.
6
but-
million pounds of force.
Yeah, and so but it did it.
That's awesome. That's so great
Yeah.
explanation there to end our program with. Like Dean Babcock says, something that he knew nothing about, that a
Mhm.
lot of you didn't know nothing about.
Yeah.
Daryl, appreciate you so
All right.
much. You come by and say hi to us
Oh,
once
I
in a
got
while.
I got to come and spend some time.
You,
here. I
you
gotta-
have a happy holiday and a
Yeah.
great new year, and
Thank
we
you.
want to see you here again in 2025. As
oh,
for all of you, we want to see you tomorrow as we've got Bert
Mhm.
Dick here from the National Space Society to talk about his top 10 space moments of 2024. Write yours down and see how they match. So until next time, I'm Mark Marquette saying we can't wait to see you in our museum to bridge the space between us.